Hello, welcome to another Becoming Modern Man. We are playing Mardu Death's Shadow, and this time we are running up against Mono Red. I think it's Mono Red Burn. Certainly Burn deck, anyway. So this is our opening hand. Obviously, in the dark, this is potentially acceptable, but I think we are at risk of. I mean, we could certainly do a lot with this one land, but I don't know whether we kept this or not. Certainly on the draw, it seems almost acceptable. Yeah, the mulligan is not any good, unfortunately. I mean, we could potentially get there with our zero cost draw cards, but yeah, we end up with this hand, and I guess we keep this, but yeah, maybe we should have just kept that starting hand in hindsight. Might have got there. So, draw into another Sculler. Finds a Goblin Guide and attacks. Gives us a land, which is nice. Just going to Path to Exile that. Alleviate some of the early pressure from our opponent. Just going to fetch up a basic here, knowing that our opponent is clearly on an aggressive strategy. Okay, so there's a more traditional burn there, a sort of red-white burn. So we see Lightning Bolt, double Lightning Bolt, Rift Bolt, and a Boros Charm. So no more creatures in our opponent's hand, which is nice at least. I guess we take the Boros Charm here because it's going to deal the most damage. I guess the Lava Spike and suspends a Rift Bolt, I think. Yep. Your Street Wraith is actually one of the worst cards in this matchup because we don't want to be losing too much life. So we're probably not going to want to cycle that. The second Tidal Sculler can take a Lightning Bolt. And bolts to get back their Boros Charm. Rift Bolts to get back their Lightning Bolt. We have saved ourselves some damage there, but obviously our opponent has got some cards back out of that deal. Boros Charm puts us down to 9. Lightning Bolt puts us down to 6. Boros Charm again puts us down to 4, and then Lava Spike wraps it up. So yeah, took a lot of pain there, and yeah, our opponent managed to just burn us out fairly swiftly. Pretty bad mulligan to start with. I suppose with our other initial hand we might have done a whole lot better because we had an early Death Shadow and we could have made that pretty large and put a lot more pressure on our opponent. We never really managed to put any pressure on our opponent, and then they managed to just put the necessary spells together to damage us to death, unfortunately for us on this occasion. So let's go to the sideboard. Okay, so we're over the sideboard. Yeah, Burn's kind of a difficult matchup, obviously, because our deck is kind of aimed at lowering our life total, when in this matchup, our opponent is going to do that for us quite nicely. Thoughtseize isn't ideal. All the Street Wraiths are pretty bad. I mean, Thoughtseize isn't the worst because you're taking 2 life. Usually taking something that's going to deal 3 or 4 damage to us. So it's not the worst, but certainly not ideal losing life against the burn deck. And we also got a lot of pain in our mana base as well. So yeah, I think we would like to get rid of the Street Wraith for sure. In terms of cards we want to bring in, I think Celestial Purge is fairly decent as a way to remove their creatures. In terms of other cards, I suppose we don't really have a lot for this matchup. Celestial Purge is decent. Maybe Liliana of the Last Hope. And then after that, it's kind of tricky. Wear Tear can kill Eidolon and maybe some artifacts they've got, but it's not a terribly good run. I think because we're taking out so many cards, or at least 4 Street Wraiths, we can probably bring in some like Fulminating Mages and things, just cards that can block and do something in this matchup, as opposed to things that cost us life and hurt us. So yeah, I don't know there's a lot to change. I mean, there is a lot to change, but we don't really have a lot of good stuff to bring in, unfortunately. Okay, so here we are with game 2. This is our opening hand. It's not the worst. We've got an early Fatal Push to deal with any creature they may play. Ranger can switch up the Death Shadow. Plague Engineer. So we must have brought in Plague Engineer. I suppose Plague Engineer is probably better than Fulminator Mage. It's got Death Touch, so it can weaken their creatures and it can potentially be a... they can trade with pretty much anything that they've got. And we must have left in some number of Thought Seizers. They're not the worst, but obviously not ideal, losing life. So we lead off with Marsh Flats, and our opponent leads off with the Wooded Foothills. Just going to get Godless Shrine here. Play a Bloodstained Mire. I'm going to go for the Thought Seize. Seems like a good opportunity to take something that's going to hurt us less than a Thought Seize, hurt us more than a Thought Seize. Given our opponent's got a full hand essentially at this point. So opponent hits us with a Lightning Bolt. We get to see a Path to Exile, Skewer the Critics, Lightning Helix, Lava Spike, and a Skull Crack. I think I end up taking Path just because I don't want them to be able to kill my Death Shadow when I play it. And that seems like the most likely way for us to win, is to hit a nice Death Shadow nice and early. So I decided to take the Path to Exile, but maybe that was the wrong play. Plays Bloodstained Mire, fetch up another land. See, we've written a Fulminating Image as well. So yeah, we're just bringing in bodies, I suppose, at this point. So we're going to fetch up Death Shadow, see if we can pressure our opponent as much as possible. We could potentially sack this Ranger of Eos on our opponent's turn, but a lot of their burn is instant speed anyway, so I don't think it does a whole lot. Turns out our opponent decides to Lightning Helix the Ranger, which I actually think is pretty good for us. They're wasting a burn spell on a creature, and we can sack it in response, which means that our opponent doesn't gain the 3 life. I played a Swift Spear. Fortunately, we're tapped out. So, opponent's got Lava Spike into Skewer. It's down to 6, attack for 3 with a Swift Spear. So, yeah, that's a pretty unfortunate set of circumstances. We're pretty guaranteed to be dead now. Yeah, Swift Spear is a pretty bad draw on for us when we tapped out. But I think we were pushed to try and go get the Death Shadow and force our opponent into action. But yeah, unfortunately our opponent got too far ahead too quickly. We didn't find our Death Shadow fast enough, and this ended fairly badly for us with a fairly resounding defeat.